I lost my family because of this habit. Not all at once, not in a dramatic moment where doors slammed or voices rose. I lost them slowly, quietly, in ways that were easy to ignore until they were impossible to fix. For a long time, I did not even realize anything was wrong. From my point of view, I was doing everything a responsible person was supposed to do. I went to work. I paid the bills. I showed up to events when they were important enough to be written on a calendar. If someone had asked me back then whether I valued my family, I would have said yes without hesitation. I would have been offended by the question. What I did not understand was that valuing people in your head is not the same as showing up for them in real life. I want you to stay with me for this because the habit I am talking about does not look dangerous. It does not look cruel. In fact, it often gets praised. People will tell you that it means you are dedicated, responsible, or strong. That is part of why it is so destructive. Nobody warns you about it. Nobody pulls you aside and says, this will cost you the people you love most. By the time you see the damage clearly, most of it has already been done. I used to believe that being physically present was enough. If I was in the same house, under the same roof, eating the same meals, then I was doing my part. I did not disappear. I did not abandon anyone. I told myself that counted for something. But presence without attention is just another form of absence. The habit that ruined everything was this. I was always somewhere else in my mind. Even when I was sitting at the table, I was thinking about work. Even when someone was talking to me, I was preparing my response instead of listening. Even during quiet moments that could have been shared, my thoughts were already moving ahead to the next problem, the next obligation, the next thing that needed fixing. I treated life like an endless list of tasks. If something could not be checked off, measured, or completed, I did not give it much importance. Conversations without a clear purpose felt inefficient. Emotional moments made me uncomfortable, so I rushed through them or shut them down without meaning to. At the time, I thought I was being practical. Looking back, I see that I was being unavailable. This habit did not start overnight. It developed gradually, reinforced by responsibility and rewarded by productivity. Early on, people excused it. They said I was tired. They said I had a lot on my plate. They said it would get better once things slowed down. Things never slow down. What happens instead is that people adapt. They stop interrupting. They stop asking. They stop expecting you to notice when something is wrong. I remember moments that seemed insignificant at the time. Someone would start telling me about their day, and I would half listen while checking my phone or thinking about something else. I would nod at the right places. I would offer a quick solution instead of empathy. I believed that fixing the problem was more valuable than understanding the feeling. Over time, the conversations became shorter. Then they became practical. Then they stopped happening altogether. Silence is not always peaceful. Sometimes it is resignation. Families do not usually break apart because of one argument or one mistake. They erode when emotional distance becomes normal, when nobody feels heard, but nobody wants to start another conversation that leads nowhere. The most dangerous part of this habit is that it feels productive. You tell yourself that you are doing all of this for them, for the future, for stability, for security. You convince yourself that you will make time later, when things are less demanding. Later rarely comes. What does come is a slow shift in how people relate to you. They stop sharing small details. They stop bringing you their worries. They stop including you in moments that require patience and presence. Not because they stopped caring, but because they learned what to expect. I did not notice the change at first, or maybe I noticed it and chose not to look too closely. It was easier to believe that everything was fine than to admit that I had become difficult to reach emotionally. I was not unkind. That is important to say. I did not yell. I did not insult anyone. I simply treated emotional connection like something optional, something I could get to later when the important things were handled. That belief cost me more than I can fully explain. There is a particular loneliness that comes from being surrounded by people who no longer try to reach you. You sit in the same room, share the same space, and yet feel strangely irrelevant. You sense that something is missing, but you cannot point to a specific event that caused it. That is because the cause was repetition. Small moments missed again and again. A question answered too quickly. A concern brushed aside. A phone checked instead of eye contact. None of these seem serious on their own. Together, they change how people feel around you. I used to think that love was proven through sacrifice and responsibility. I now understand that love also requires availability. It requires stillness. It requires the willingness to sit with someone else's feelings without trying to control or escape them. This habit made me efficient, but it made me distant. It made me capable, but it made me closed. It trained me to handle problems, not people, and the people noticed long before I did. By the time I started to sense that something was truly wrong, the dynamic had already shifted. Conversations felt careful. Interactions felt polite instead of warm. The ease that once existed was gone, replaced by a quiet formality. That was the moment when I realized that being busy had not protected my family. It had slowly pushed them away. And this is only the beginning of the story. The realization did not arrive with a single sentence or a dramatic confrontation. It arrived in pieces. A pause where there used to be laughter. A question that never came. A sense that I was no longer the first person people turned to, even when I was sitting right there. At first, I blamed external things. Stress, age, changing seasons of life. I told myself that this was normal, that every family goes through quieter periods. That explanation was comfortable, and because it was comfortable, I accepted it without examining it too closely. What I did not want to admit was that I had trained the people around me not to need me emotionally. That's when someone reaches out and feels unheard often enough, they stop reaching, not out of anger, but out of self-preservation. It is painful to offer your inner world to someone who seems elsewhere. Eventually, silence feels safer. I remember the moment that made everything undeniable. It was an ordinary evening, no argument, no raised voices, just a calm, almost careful conversation. I was told gently that I felt far away, that I had been far away for a long time, that it no longer made sense to keep trying to pull me back. There was no accusation in the voice. That was the hardest part. The absence of anger meant the decision had already been made internally. Anger means someone still hopes you will change. Calm means they have stopped expecting it. I wanted to explain myself. I wanted to say that I had always meant well, that I had carried responsibility like a burden on my back, that I believed providing stability was the same as providing love. None of that mattered anymore. Intent does not repair distance. Patterns do. The habit I had practiced for years had shaped the relationship more than any single explanation ever could. I had shown, consistently, that my attention was divided, my presence conditional, my listening rushed. Over time, those signals became facts. Once that truth settled in, I began to see the past differently. Moments I had dismissed as minor now appeared painfully clear. Times when someone needed reassurance and I offered logic instead. Times when someone needed patience and I offered efficiency. Times when someone needed to be seen and I offered solutions. I had confused competence with care. What made this habit especially destructive was how invisible it felt from the inside. I never thought of myself as emotionally absent. I thought of myself as focused, disciplined, reliable. Those qualities served me well in many areas of life, but they failed me completely where relationships were concerned. Relationships do not thrive on management. They thrive on attention. By the time I understood that, the damage was no longer theoretical. The emotional space that had once been shared was now occupied by distance, and distance has a way of becoming permanent if it goes unchallenged long enough. I also had to face another uncomfortable truth. This habit was not just about busyness, it was about avoidance. Staying mentally occupied gave me an excuse not to sit with difficult emotions, not to face disappointment, fear, or vulnerability. Being busy allowed me to feel useful without feeling exposed. It protected me from discomfort, but it also protected me from connection. I did not lose my family because I worked too much. I lost them because I used work, planning, and constant mental activity as a shield. Once I saw that clearly, I understood why slowing down felt so uncomfortable. Stillness removes distractions. Presence demands engagement. When you stop moving, you are forced to notice what you have been neglecting, and that can be terrifying. If you recognize yourself in any of this, I want you to understand something important. This habit does not make you a bad person. It makes you human in a world that rewards productivity more than presence. Many people fall into this pattern without ever questioning it. The difference is whether you catch it early enough to change it. Repair is possible, but it requires consistency, not grand gestures. Trust is not rebuilt through speeches or promises. It is rebuilt through repeated moments of genuine attention. Putting the phone down when someone speaks, listening without interrupting, allowing silence without rushing to fill it, asking questions without trying to steer the answer. These actions seem small, but they signal something powerful. They say, "You matter more than whatever else is competing for my attention right now." I cannot pretend that everything went back to the way it was for me. Some distance, once created, cannot be fully erased. Relationships change shape. People protect themselves. Time moves forward regardless of regret. But I can say this: the habit that cost me so much also taught me what truly matters. Attention is not a minor detail of love. It is one of its primary forms. If you are still in the stage where people around you are speaking up, complaining, or asking for more of you, take that as a sign of hope. It means they still believe you are reachable. The day they stop speaking is the day you should worry. Do not wait for a crisis to force awareness on you. You do not need to lose your family to learn this lesson. Start with one moment today. Choose presence deliberately, not forever, not perfectly, just now. Because habits are built quietly and they are changed the same way. And the habit that once pulled me away is the same habit that, if corrected in time, can keep others close. That is the truth I learned too late.